Welcome to Main Street Mavericks, celebrating conversations with exceptional Main Street businesses who serve friends and neighbors in your community. Here's your host, Joel Helfer.
Good afternoon. This is Joel Helfer from Main Street Mavericks Radio. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Craig Petronella. Craig is from Raleigh, North Carolina. He's Raleigh's top cybersecurity expert and IT authority. Craig has authored multiple books, including How HIPAA Can Crush Your Medical Practice and Peace of Mind Computer Support, or Peace of Mind Computer Support, that's the second book. He has spent 30 years advising clients and protecting computer information. Craig makes sure your medical practice network works when you need it the most and is a celebrity in his field and hometown. Craig is frequently quoted in the local Raleigh news and appears on local TV news for his expertise in protecting local businesses and medical practice owners from hackers halfway around the world in places such as Ukraine, Russia, and China. Craig has been quoted and featured on ABC News North Carolina, CBS News North Carolina, NBC, WNCN, Raleigh and Charlotte, NC Time Warner Cable News, PR Newswire, and NewsObserver.com. That's quite a resume, Craig. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. This is a great topic. This is very timely because it goes right up to the top of the world now with computer hacking. And one of the things that I'm most interested in is what are the misconceptions that people have about cybersecurity?
The top misconceptions are that they don't feel like it will happen to them. They don't feel like they'll get audited or suffer a breach. But the reality is it's happening every day and every minute. Businesses all around us are getting hacked. You just look at the news or the headlines, and sometimes there's more than one in a day.
Most people don't really understand what hacking really means. You hear the term all of it, but what actually is the process? How does someone hack your computers? What do they actually do?
So the process varies, but what's very commonplace nowadays is some malware. A lot of malware exists, such as ransomware, which is new malware that basically encrypts your data so that you can no longer access your important files and information, and exchanges, they want a fee. So they want to charge you $300, $3,000. I've heard of $500,000 and up now, just to get your access to your data back. And if you are a business owner, yeah, it's crazy. If you're a business owner that does not take data backup, disaster recovery, and business continuity seriously, and you don't have a good recovery plan, you have no choice but to explore the possibility of paying. And if you do choose to pay, there's no guarantee that the criminals will give you your data back.
And there's no other way to get around it, huh?
Nope. They use very advanced encryption. 2048-bit encryption is pretty commonplace, which is about 20 times more powerful than what your bank uses for online banking.
Wow.
So it's near impossible to crack the encryption algorithm, and that's why they can demand so much money. Now, if you do have good data recovery or you do have good enterprise backup solutions, it is possible to recover. But these ransomware authors and malware writers, they know that 99% of businesses and personal computers as well, personal computer users, they don't have good data backup. So they basically can name their price.
So what do you do as a cybersecurity expert when you go into a company? What remedies or what protections do you offer a company to prevent this from happening?
So I have a 3-step process. I start off with what's called a security risk assessment. where I'll actually take a look at their entire IT infrastructure and ask a series of questions that are specific to their business type. Certain businesses are subject to various compliance standards. For example, medical practices are subject to HIPAA compliance, and if they take credit cards, any business that takes credit cards is subject to PCI DSS compliance. So there's these various compliance standards that get wrapped into the security risk assessment. And after all of that is analyzed, then I have a clear picture and overview of where they are and what needs to be done to remediate. So the second phase is remediation. And in remediation, it's basically the blueprint and the game plan of what needs to be done to align the business or practice with compliance. So that generally consists of a very large project that can be phased out depending upon budget. And then after that is completed, we would then redo the security risk assessment to make sure that everything has been remediated and is in alignment with compliance. And then the third stage is the ongoing security management and maintenance of the infrastructure, because unfortunately, cybersecurity, there's no silver bullet here. There's no single product or software to buy. It's an ongoing effort that multiple layers and multiple technologies need to be used on a regular basis and an ongoing basis.
How often do you have to go into a client to get this remedy installed?
So quite often, usually after the assessment and the remediation phase, it really varies. Certain smaller companies are faster on the remediation phase just because the complexities of their network are smaller. Larger, more medium to enterprise businesses have oftentimes multiple locations and more complex infrastructure, so it takes longer to roll out remediation. But ultimately, it depends on their budget and how many boots are on the ground to actually fix the issues that we find. But we always find problems. There's no it's very similar to going to a medical doctor to get if you have a knee problem, if you wanted to get your knee x-rayed, and there's a series of tests that have to be done. It's the same process.
I got it. How'd you get into this business? You've become quite an expert over the years. What got you started?
I started my business in 2002, and in 2006 is when I started doing more of the managed services role, where we actually became the outsourced IT department for small businesses that didn't have IT, and for the medium to large businesses that did have IT, we would serve as their specialists to augment their staff. Sure. We would augment their IT staff and help them with various projects with security and compliance. So we really got into this based on the where the world is and how bad it's become with the malware and the security risks that are out there. So we developed our own proprietary solutions that worked really well, and we wanted to spread the word and basically help more people.
It sounds like your services can be used all the way up to the top echelons of government. I just was listening on my favorite program, CNN, and they said the Democratic National Committee didn't safeguard their information. Is that possible?
Yeah, that's true. Quite often nowadays, even if you've got millions of dollars in IT infrastructure, there still is security that needs to be done. And I've found that a common way that hackers infiltrate networks these days is what's called a zeroday keylogger malware. So what that means is you can get an email from somebody that may be a friend of yours or your wife or husband, and it looks like it's trusted. So that person, that message says, hey, click on this link. I want to show you the picture of our grandchild or something like that. So they click on the link, and then without their knowledge, a keylogger has been installed on their computer. And what that means is every keystroke that they type is being collected. And this could also be done on smartphones and Android devices as well. So essentially every keystroke, every password, every username that you're typing in on those devices is being captured and sent to a third party without your knowledge. Over time, the hackers at the other end collect this information, this personal identifiable information, which is called PII, from you, and then they can do as they wish. They can impersonate you. They can log into your bank as you. They can send email messages as you, and essentially steal your identity. So the ramifications are vast.
And you don't even know this is happening to you while it's happening.
Not until it's too late. Not until you run a credit report or you try to buy a car or a house or something, and then you check. And unless you have ongoing, which I always recommend, ongoing identity theft protection for not only yourself but your entire family, so that they're monitoring several different security layers of not only your credit but your driver's license, your passports, all of the information that essentially is linked to your identity. If you're monitoring all those components, you can catch it faster, and then you can move into a remediation stage. But zero-day keylogger is not detectable by any brand, make, or model antivirus, no firewall. Nothing can stop a zero-day malware. The only thing that you can do to mitigate your risk is use what's called patented keystroke encryption. And this is one single layer of what we recommend in our multi-layered security approach. And that will help mitigate, that one thing will help mitigate your risk. But there's much more that needs to be done opposed to just using that one type of technology.
Is this something that the average person, there's two levels here. You've got a business level and a personal level, and the personal level can be just as important. As it's something the average person can afford?
It is, yeah. It's generally less than $100 a year for a license.
Wow. And that'll protect you from someone being able to record your keystrokes one at a time?
That's exactly right. It's patented technology.
Well, that's good information. Could you tell me a situation that you resolved for a client that protected his information where he wasn't protected before? A specific example?
Yeah, absolutely. So about 4 years ago, a client called us because they couldn't open any of their important files or documents. We discovered they were infected with ransomware malware called CryptoLocker. And CryptoLocker was a strain that came out about almost 4 years ago now. And it was really the first, it wasn't the first ransomware virus, but it was the first one that became very, very popular, spreading all over the internet. And it came in through what's called phishing emails, like we discussed earlier, where it looks like an email came from a trusted source. Somebody clicks on it, and then they get infected with this ransomware malware. And what happens is, quite often, it's not an immediate change, meaning if you click an infected link that may contain ransomware, such as the CryptoLocker, you may not immediately have your files and data encrypted. It may wait. The virus or malware might wait a week, it might wait a month or longer, and then randomly you come back to your computer and you find that all of your data is encrypted. So we actually we recovered our client 100%, and then that's what really helped us create our own proprietary security solutions to protect our clients. And then I actually wrote a book about it.
Wow, what was the name of the book so people can go find it?
It's called CryptoLocker, Thieves Are After Your Business.
Is it available like on Amazon, for example?
Yes, sir. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that sounds like a book definitely worth reading. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say my latest book is titled How HIPAA Can Crush Your Medical Practice, and it has even more up-to-date information on malware and ransomware. Both are very good.
When you use the term malware, you've used that term periodically this afternoon. What actually do you mean in layman's terms? What is malware?
So malware is very similar to a computer virus. It's basically malicious software that can get onto your computer either through a USB thumb drive, an infected link in an email message, an infected ad on the internet. So if you click on an ad or you click on an infected link on an infected web server, you can get this software called malware that's installed onto your computer. and that malware could cause destruction, slow your computer down, encrypt your files like ransomware. There's all these different bad things that can happen, but essentially malware is very similar to a computer virus.
So in other words, you have to be really careful about what emails you open, and I know the common talk is if you don't know who the person is sending you the email, not to open it. Is that correct?
That is correct, but I always recommend what's called ongoing security awareness training. And what security awareness training does is it trains either the personal computer user or the business owner and their staff on what emails they should click on, what factors to look at to make sure that it's safe to open a certain link, and what to look for, because the hackers are always trying to stay one step ahead. So you can't really say that if I get an email from a friend, it's safe to open, because the hackers know how to defeat that. It's called spoofing. So you have to have ongoing security awareness training to know what to look out for.
We were talking earlier about the potential hazard not only to the individual or the business, but society with hacking. Could you talk a little bit about that and things that, not that should alarm people, but they should be aware of about the potential hazards of what they call cyber warfare?
Sure. So there's various different things similar to what we were talking about with malware and phishing attacks, and there's all these different risks that are lurking out there, and that's why I was saying that the security awareness training component is so important to not only the individual computer user, but especially for small to medium and even large enterprises. Security is changing all the time. You have to constantly be on the forefront and know what to look out for to keep yourself safe. There's certain required elements that managed antivirus, firewalls. There's certain the patented keystroke encryption. There's certain pieces of technology that you need to have that work together to help protect you, including identity theft protection. And the more of these layers that you can blend together, the better you can protect yourself.
This seems to be the kind of a thing that people only think about after the horse has left the barn, so to speak. It isn't something, everybody hears about it, but they seem to go on with their daily lives without really paying enough attention to it. Would you say, in your opinion, as an authority on IT and cybersecurity, this is something people should pay more attention to?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, these breaches are happening every day. People need to be more aware that it can really happen to them. And if it does, it's awful. It's awful not only on an individual level, but on a business level. Think about if you got a piece of ransomware malware on your home computer, and you had, maybe 5,000 pictures of your children on there, and then you didn't have the foresight to have good data backup and disaster recovery. So you have no choice but to pay the ransom, and you don't even get a guarantee that you'll get the data back. But think about that magnitude at a business or a medical practice level where you might have staff of 100 or even 1,000 employees. Well, now, if those servers get locked up with ransomware and those 1,000 employees can't work, well, now all those people on salary and payroll, they can't do anything. They can't see patients. They can't help anybody. They're at a screeching halt, standstill, until they get fixed. And the fix might never come. If they don't have good data backup, disaster recovery, and business continuity, they can't recover. So this is a real danger that is affecting hospitals across the country and across the world. It's affecting businesses of all shapes and forms, especially in regulated compliance areas, such as legal and construction, and even small businesses like insurance companies that, they're all subject to getting crippled by some type of security issue.
Wow. What's the takeaway from all this? One thing that I know you've talked about, a lot of very interesting cybersecurity strategies and remedies in depth. But what's one takeaway that somebody could take away from listening to this interview that would actually help them the most?
So all practices and businesses need several layers of cybersecurity paired with business process. Like I said, there's no silver bullet. There's no single software program you can buy. You have to have multiple layers in place. The more, the better. And everybody's budget's different, but there still could be an effective plan that's put into place. I recommend what's called ISO 27001 or 27002 compliance for any business. It's about 70% of that compliance standard is really business process. It's what are you doing for security awareness training? How often are you giving that training to your employees? When was the last security penetration test done? It really has a huge list of questions that can help any business organize their IT, their business, and their security plan, and be compliant in those areas, and really have a good roadmap of how they're going to deal with some of these threats. So I think that's really important to look at, because business owners really must understand that cybersecurity is no longer optional. It's really required. It's a required pillar of business nowadays, and realistic budgets must be created annually because cybersecurity is an ongoing effort.
Well, thank you very much. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you in order for you to actually help them with their cybersecurity, how would they go about finding you?
The easiest way is that they can call me at my phone number, which is 919-601-1601, or they can go to my website, which is PetronellaComputer.com.
And you also have 2 books on Amazon. Let's repeat the titles of them. One was How the Government Can Crush Your Medical Practice, and the second one was Peace of Mind, Computer Support. Is that correct?
There's How HIPAA Can Crush Your Medical Practice, is my latest book. And then there's Peace of Mind, Computer Support, which is my first book. And then there's the Crypto Locker, Thieves Are After Your Business. That's specifically on the Crypto Locker.
Well, thank you very much for spending time with us this afternoon, Craig. I really appreciate it. And I know I've learned something that I didn't know before about cybersecurity, and I think the people listening here have as well. And we appreciate your time. We wish you continued success in your business. Thanks very much for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Take care.
Oh, you're welcome. And this is Joel Helfer with another episode of Main Street Mavericks Radio. And as I always end the show, have a little fun every day. Don't save it up.
You've been listening to Main Street Mavericks Radio with Joel Helfer. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit mainstreetmavericks.com.